Four comedians are also real good friends, working on jokes, the fun never ends. They're asking each other, is this anything?
All right, Rob's next.
Let's go back to the Jarbinator. Who's next on your list? Beep, boop, boop, beep, 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 boop.
Next is Rob.
Next is Rob. Okay, we will get fired up right away. There's a hodgepodge of different ideas here. Okay, I have, first of all, if South America had a longer lasting dynasty, all of our maps would be upside down. That is a that's it. That's the whole thought.
Wait, I'm not sure I get it.
If the Aztecs or whatever, if they held power longer, then when all the world maps were made, they would probably take a more prominent position, meaning they'd be on the top half, and all our maps would be upside down. That was the whole concept.
Two ideas for that. Do you know about the Decatur projection, Rob?
A Decatur projection specifically, no, but tell me, maybe it'll jog my memory.
I think I'm remembering the name correctly. The Decatur projection is...
Oh, is it the actual landmass size of the...
Yeah, because the map that we all know is wildly inaccurate. Based on,
like not to scale.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the Decatur is based on actual landmass taken up by the Earth. Yes.
I thought the Decatur projection was they're like big bugs and then they leave a shell.
That is...
That could be. That could also be the Decatur projection. I thought Decatur projection was that prank show on FX. Decatur projection. The other thought that I had was because you're saying it would be flipped so that it would be on the north. It would be, like where Russia is basically, right? Or where America is right now.
Yeah.
But I think what's funny right now about the map is that in the middle is like the Atlantic Ocean, which is like they won the war, I guess. Like is that
Atlantis?
the most powerful nation in the world? Is the bottom of the Marianas Trench or something? I don't know, something like that.
That is funny.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to go with that, then your premise should be that you have to start off with the reason the map is the way that it is.
Right.
Where this nation is on top is because...
But it is also just on top. It's not... They didn't put it on top. Everything is in the everything on the map is it's in the right places.
Yes, but there's no reason for the North Pole to be the north or the top. That's the astronomy knows no.
Yeah, it's pretty arbitrary.
It's arbitrary.
Yeah, there's a reason because it is.
Have you seen a map? Do you want me to put a map on my green screen so you can see it?
I think if I thought of a new name for our group, guys, the Geography Boys.
I thought it was going to be more like white privilege or ethnocentrism. What do you mean? We're on top because we are.
We're number one.
I thought the map was in the list of technological achievements. You start off with America because we did the most. Right?
Whenever I fill out credit card information, the United States is always at the top, so I don't understand.
You know what is funny though when United States isn't the first option and you're like, what the fuck is this shit?
I'm not from Algeria,
Azerbaijan.
I have to go all the way down to you. You know why? Because the A empire won all those wars back then. They beat out the B's and the C's. Otherwise, we'd have a completely different alphabet.
There's something there. There's something there. Like there was a war years ago for who got to name their countries the beginning of the alphabet versus the end of the alphabet. I don't know. Maybe
That's true. And then America's like, we don't care. We're the United States, but put us under A. United States of, in parentheses, America, just for map purposes.
What a lot of people don't know is the lost city of Atlantis used to be called 001 Atlantis.
All right, so that's that idea. Thanks for stretching so much mileage out of that. That was just a silly like warm up thing I was thinking of doing. Okay. Here's an. If there's one thing I learned about couples, it's that if you have plans with both of them and one of them doesn't show because they were sick, they are lying. They no one person ever gets sick in a couple, and the other person just shows up to the party anyway. They got into a blowout fight. That person hates you, or they are secretly an alcoholic. These are the real reasons that one person of a couple doesn't show up to a party. Oh yeah. Oh, you know what, Maureen? She's sick. She's sick. Yeah. She didn't want to come, but I figured I would come. When you imagine a scenario where like your girlfriend or your wife is sick, you're not going to that party. You're gonna stay home and you're gonna whatever. But if you got into some disgusting fight, then you're like, I'm still going. I'm going to the fucking party. All right. You just fucking sit here and stay here. Well, I don't like your friends anyway. Fine. Then you show up. You're like, she's really not. She's got a little tummy thing. I don't know.
Tired from work.
Yeah. Oof. I mean, I wish she would be here. It'd be great. I love her so much.
She's sick of you.
She's sick of not being a bitch.
Is that all you got, Rob, for that one?
That's all I really got.
That's great.
I actually thought about this when I was a kid because my mom was drunk all the time. And we would show up to these family parties often. I'd be like, yeah, Linda's not feeling good. And even as like a 10-year-old, I was like, there's no way they're buying this again. Right? It was like the third Christmas in a row.
If there's room, because I think the bit is really solid as it is. If there's room, I think I would like to hear you after you do the first act out of, she's not feeling great, using the same tone to say what really happened.
Okay.
Like, she's sorry she can't be here, but she asked me how she looked when she was getting ready, and I said that dress was kind of bursting at the seams because she put on a bunch of weight since Thanksgiving, and then she called my mom a bitch, and then we decided that she's just not here. Something like that. I don't know.
I like
Well,
that.
what if you end all that with like, so she has a cold?
So, she has a cold.
She has a bug.
That's funny. That's good. If you could think of anything else now or later, that's cool. But
And I think Rob, you used the true.
as I was
premise,
saying it, I was like, "This sounds
yeah.
great. I should say this too."
One of the great things about this, sometimes you're just trying to explain the joke, and you're like, "Oh, that's how I should say it."
Right.
It's also funny though because like if they are lying, they don't really have to because the other person's not there. So they could totally just
They could
just
say whatever.
the truth and
She was. My husband was being an asshole. He was being an asshole. No one's here to say otherwise. Let's ask my husband. Oh, he says he's being an asshole too.
I totally agree with your point, Brett. That especially for newer comics, I noticed that when they pitch me a joke, I'm always curious. I'm like, where'd that come from? And then the story is just infinitely more fascinating than whatever stupid joke they came up with. I was like, excuse me? That's great. I mean, just
When I was wrestling the aircraft from the terrorist hands, I noticed something about his sideburns were kind of funny.
So that's why men are different than women.
Rob, do you think that would fit into the other material that you have about your mom?
Yeah, totally. As a matter of fact, the more I think about it, it could certainly work like that because instead of using that as an example or even an explanation for the joke, I could reverse engineer it and say exactly what I said. I realized from an early age that this is the case, and it just became more and more true. And I can generalize it. Everybody does that. If your significant other can't be there, then blah blah blah. And I also kind of like adding in the fact that if your partner really was truly sick, can't leave the house, I think the odds that you just wouldn't go to the party are really high. They're just that much more higher.
Because then
So
people
I
are
like-
like, well, how is she? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm here.
I left a can of soup open on the counter, so she's gonna be all right.
What if you said? What if you said I have a? You should have a Dwayne Reed bag with like NyQuil in it, and then you bring that to the party.
Yeah.
You say, "I just went out to get this, but I thought I'd swing by the party anyways." You know, something like that. Something to really hammer. Something really to sell the lie. And you say like, "I bring this to every party so that nobody thinks I'm lying about it," or something.
Oh, yeah, like the receipt's in there, but it's from 3 years ago or something.
You keep it in your trunk. It's just a little girlfriend fight party package that you bring along with you. That's funny. All right, more legs. Great, guys. This is good. We won't get too much more, so I probably should just do one more bit. Okay, so this was a bit of a looser idea, and I came up with more recently, so we'll throw it out there. I loved the concept of staying up all night when I was a kid, and I remember like that feeling of deciding for the first time as a child that you were going to pull an all-nighter was just such a wacky, wild, novel idea. And I remember I don't remember the exact time, but I remember that feeling of being like pretty much like a young tween or like a teenager, and having that moment with our friends when I was like, we're gonna like let's stay up all night, like, let's do it, you know. And it was just this really exciting adventure of can we stay up until the sun comes up, and I wanted to explore that idea a lot more. One angle that I wanted to take on it was that, to me, staying up all night is almost like it's like living an entire life, because you know you wake up the first day and you're just a baby. You know, you've experienced this day and you're a child, and then once you decide that you're going to stay up all night, that is you basically like asserting yourself as a young teen, and you're like, I'm going to take control of my life, because the first day is the first day, but the second day is like I make my own decisions, and it's really exciting. So when it's like 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., those are like your 20s, you know, because you're grabbing life by the balls, you're having a blast, you're partying with your friends. And then once it hits like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you know, now you're kind of hitting your 30s. And you're just like, yeah, I mean, you know, you still got a little juice left in you, but you're starting to slow up. It's not as fun as it once was. You're like, this is all right, you know, but we're still doing this. We're in this, you know. And then something miraculous happens. Once it's like 6:30 in the morning, the sun comes up. And to me, that's like when you have your first child, because it's like, oh my God, it's like a new day. You get this new breath of like, we did it. We stayed up all night. This is crazy. Wow, the sun's coming up. Maybe you go watch the sunrise. And then something really weird happens at like 9 a.m. And at 9 a.m., you're just like, oh, I just stayed up all night. My body is wrecked. I'm exhausted. And now I have an entire another day I have to live. And nobody cares that I just spent the whole night up. And now I have to do the whole thing again, but now I'm miserable and exhausted. And that's when you're like 42. That's when you're just like, oh, I got to do everything I just did, but again and worse, and and I'm underslept, and that's it. Anyway, that's it.
I think that's a great poem, Rob.
So that's my poem. That's my Odyssey.
I think it's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, but it ends there for right now. I understand that the analogy is really all I've got. But do you think it's worthwhile to?
To me,
Fine.
right now, it feels like a stretch. It feels
Okay.
like shoving one thing onto another. For other analogies, I feel like there's a moment where the audience goes like, yes, you know.
Yeah, I see that.
The reason why I made that joke about this being a poem was it really felt like this kind of, I don't know, it really felt more avant-garde, the way that you were sort of like fitting those two things together. So I'm not really sure what the solve is. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Brett?
Which, by the way, does not deter me in the slightest.
I think that you just.
I love
that. It's the same analogy over and over again without anything new. Really, you're not wowing us with the analogy. We already know the analogy. Now it's just different examples of the analogy.
Yeah.
So I would like for you to just give me the analogy. Tell me what it's like in the beginning, what it's like being a child, and then tell me what it's like by 7 a.m. when you're an old person.
Right. I agree with
and
you
then
on
cut
that.
out everything in between.
And I actually think that it's way more interesting to think about the activities of what a kid who stays up all night with his friends does than the analogy. I think
I agree with you.
That,
and the other things about, so I said that this is just one aspect of it that I thought about. But the other things about it was like, is what you decide to do with it and how sleepovers are different. Like I remember when I was sleepovers when I was a kid, it was almost like this weird feral, it was a scary event. Like, cause if you fell asleep first, they'd fuck with you, they'd drop penises on you and all this stuff. Yes. You're just like, this isn't fun. This is terrifying. You know, you're just like sitting in the corner, you know, like with a sharpened stick, just making sure that nobody tries to fuck with you. So there's that kind of element. Yeah.
I remember you ran this idea by me. We were texting about it, and I don't remember what we riffed on, but now I remember that part was just now that part was missing about staying up and being afraid to fall asleep first or whatever. And I like that. I don't know why that wasn't in there just now, because I like that part.
I also had this other concept of like, there's a lot of solidarity when the thing first starts and you're like, oh man, like we're going to stay up all night. Like, yeah, if I start to fall asleep, like you'll wake me up, and if you and I'll wake you up. And then there's the point where you're like, if you keep me from sleeping, I will cut your throat. I will murder you. Like I'm done. I am over. I'm going to bed now. There's a lot of weird mixed emotions that I've had about this very concept of like staying up all night and that really weird range of emotions that you go through. So I'm just fascinated with that currently. There's no joke yet, but I'm fascinated with just that really like high and low that you feel, that you put your mind through in one day, in one time period, that it just, I don't know. Like I said, that just tickles me or fascinates me.
I got a very unrefined idea for you, just to throw some more info in the slop. So when you plastic, right? So the way that you describe the sleepover, when things start to break down and the kids are like, fending off pranks with a sharpened stick, it reminded me of the Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
And then I thought that there was an article that went around the internet recently about the real Lord of the Flies, where that actually did happen to a bunch of kids, but instead of descending into madness, they basically formed like a little democracy, and it ended up being really civil and amazing. And they like found, when they were eventually discovered, like they were all really well fed, and like one of the kids had broken their leg, and they had mended it, and they were making sure that he got his rations and stuff like that. And so then
that's how they formed Sweden.
And that became Sweden. And so the idea that I then had was, I was like, oh, I wonder if there's a way to fit that into this bit where, if kids just stay up long enough, they'll form a representative democracy or something. I know that that's such a long walk, and you have to go through the article, and you have to go through Lord of the Flies, but maybe there's something that could be mined out of that.
All right.
So you're saying make it longer. That's what I was
Make it super long. Make it really long. And
boring people, Rob.
don't forget to cite your sources.
Can you have a little break from the poem for a short story?
Of course.
Okay, cool, great.
I think it could be a novel, really.
Yeah, maybe some interpretive dance in the middle. I think it would really
I'm
flesh
thinking
out.
of including hyperlinks so that if anybody wants more information on any particular
Hand out
topic
cards
I
to the
mentioned.
audience.
You can just click on that link if you're curious. Anyways.
Cool, man. Thank you guys so much for your help. I appreciate it.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Check back for more individual clips and full episodes, or you can listen wherever you enjoy podcasts. If you want to support the show and get early access to new episodes as well as extra fan-only content, go to patreon.com/ITAPod. That's ITAPod, as in Is This Anything Podcast. Relevant links in the description. Take care.